Welcome to the Rock and Roll Show podcast. We're here to share the thrill of experiencing live music together with strangers and with friends, and to get to know our guests a little bit better through their concert experience. I'm your host, Alex Gadd, and I do this because I love talking about live music. Finding out what shows people have been to, what bands they like, allows me to get to know them a little bit better. And also, hey, it's just fun to talk about the shows we've been to. Our guest today is Carl King. He's a change consultant and executive coach with a background in music. So we'll find out both more about his work and more about his interest in music. I'd like to welcome Carl to the show.
Hey, thanks, Alex.
All right. So let's start with you made a recent change into being a change consultant executive coach. Is that a brand new thing?
Yeah, it's the last year thing. I started preaching when I was 14 years old, which is really young. And I like to say I'm late model, but high mileage. But yeah, I have started as a minister preacher and I preached for 20 something years. And as I was considering a shift and a change in pretty much everything, I was trying to put all the pieces of what my life has been and what are the kind of the high points, what are the significant things that have made me and have given me purpose and have also helped people. I'm sure you've probably seen people that do this. It's like a pie chart of, or no, what do you call this?
Venn
Yeah,
diagram.
you got it. Yeah, the Venn diagram of what you do well, what you can get paid for, what the universe wants, or whatever. So that was at the nexus, the center point of all that. So, yeah, being a change consultant, it on some level you could call me a life coach, but I also work for organizations too. So I've worked with organizations around change and in the innovation department and that kind of thing. So that's the work.
If we go backwards, you started preaching at 14. Did music play a part in that pursuit?
Not initially. I didn't realize I was into music until I was about 12 years old, but I was on some level trained to be a preacher of some sort. From my earliest recollection is preaching. Being a 5-year-old and sitting around with, I have an older brother and sister, and we would have church services because that's pretty much what we did. So Sunday morning, Sunday night, Tuesday night, Thursday night, we were all in church. And then we would also do like choir rehearsal. My parents would be in, so that would be Friday night. And then youth or whatever night would be Saturday night. So yeah, that was the bulk of what we did, which to the Rock and Roll Show podcast, it didn't allow me to get out to a lot of concerts, but we'll get into that, I'm sure. As we
Sure.
go.
I'm interested in your early story because to me, as really an outsider, I don't go to church all that often. And to me, music was essential to getting the message out that preaching is performing to a certain
Mhm.
extent. You have to preach in a way that's compelling and connecting the way a musician has to perform.
Mhm.
But also churches to me were have always been a center of music for a community as a part of how you share that message and how you share God's word. So did that start to merge together, or how did you move from preaching and practicing preaching to being into music as well?
Yeah, this is part of kind of that whole transformation thing for me. So I was actually given almost, it wasn't officially an ultimatum, but I had to make a decision as I got later. As I
I like ultimatums. That's usually a critical point in someone's life. Now you have a turning point.
Yes, I was performing live, in choir as I was growing up, so I had these kinda dual track. One was preaching, and then the other was I started, like, really loving music, and specifically live music. So I'm performing out with people. I got involved in this a cappella group that was the premier a cappella group. I grew up in Fort Worth, Texas, and so we're going out and we're getting booked to go around the country and sing, and it's this phenomenal opportunity, but you're also supposed to be a preacher, right? And
You got to be home on Saturday and Sunday.
yeah, yeah, and so it started conflicting, and then there came this point where I was given this conversation slash, uh, yeah, ultimatum, I would say. that you can't be a preacher and a Christian and singing the devil's music. I mean, we sang this, and actually, I've done a little bit of writing about it. We sang this song. They were singing back to back, belly to belly. I don't give a damn, 'cause I'm so dead already.
They were singing back to back, belly to belly. Well, I don't give a damn, cause I'm stone dead already. Back to back, belly to belly. It's a zombie jamboree.
So this zombie jamboree song, we're singing the song, and that D word. And forgive me if
Yeah.
I'm using profanity on your show, and that's not
Oh
allowed.
no, you say what you need to say. Tell it. I want the honest story.
Yeah, so I'm singing this song, and I would always mute myself, and I would say, "I don't give up, 'cause I'm stoned," and everybody else is singing, right? Somebody found out that we were singing that specific song. Every other song they were okay with, even though it wasn't whatever.
And they were the church elders.
Yeah,
or
the
your
church
parents?
elders then confronted me, and specifically the lead pastor, and he says, "I hear you're singing these songs and you're cursing," and I'm like, "Oh my," and so it was like, "You need to get out of that." And then I was given the counter offer was you can lead worship, or you can lead like the congregation for free, and you can't pursue your music career. So it worked out great for them.
Wow. All right. So how old are you when you have that
I
conversation?
was going into about to graduate, so I was 18.
And you chose?
I have to be honest, there wasn't really a choice. It was, "You're gonna do this. This is what you're gonna do." And so I did. And so I
Yeah.
led worship at that church for about 10 years for free. Worship leaders get paid some good money, especially if they're good. And at the time I was good. So anyhow,
Were you then able to pursue the music because you were doing it for free?
it's different being pushed by peers that are doing this professionally. I listen to some of your show, and some of your guests are talking about the people that they show up and listen to, and these are professionals. So some of the people that I was in a group with, they went on to professional music careers. One was a background singer for Ricky Iglesias. Others went into like professional gospel music, and so they were touring regularly, and they were at the cusp, at the peak of Christian music at the time, or pop music, or whatever it may have been. So being surrounded by that kind of talent versus a group of people that it was really difficult to get them even to practice sometimes.
Yeah.
You can imagine.
I can imagine. Let's talk about the shows you've seen then. What was the first concert you can remember?
Yeah, the first concert was, I went to Six Flags over Texas in Arlington, and there was a guy by the name, I don't know if you've ever heard of Stephen Curtis Chapman before.
I have. I don't know his music, but I've heard
Yeah,
his
so
name.
he was a trailblazer in Christian music at the time. And he was doing this mix up of rock, but also maybe a little bit of elements of classical. So you would have this live instrumentation, orchestration of some of his stuff, and he would bring in these really cool elements. And the first concert, I'm 16, I go to Six Flags over Texas, and I get to go to his concert. This was back when Six Flags was having these massive concerts. He was one of those really massive acts that they got in, and he happened to be Christian, so I was able to go. And oh my goodness, I remember just the chills of sitting there as a kid and being just surrounded by people, and then this music is coming, and the speakers are shaking my body, and then there's the violins and all the things that he was doing. He comes up, he hit the guitar, and I just want to explode. But fortunately, I held my physical form together, and it was a great concert. Phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Yeah. And is that when you started singing in an a cappella group? Had you already been singing in an a cappella group at that point?
I hadn't been at that point. And
So
after that,
was that part of the impetus?
yeah. To see him not just do the musicianship, because I was playing drums a little bit in church, but to see him captivate a crowd, to hold all of us just spellbound as he is doing his thing. And he was a singer-songwriter, so he was the one that wrote and composed the orchestration. And so I'm looking at this and I'm like, man, this is incredible.
It sounds incredible. Just the way you describe it, I'm getting a buzz just
Hmm.
listening to it. Just to follow up on that, have you ever seen him perform again?
I have not. He was out. So I'm in a suburb of Chicago, and he was out about 2 months ago, and he was doing a performance. And I looked him up as I'm retracing my story. I looked him up just out of the clear blue and saw he was, and I was like, oh my goodness, I couldn't make it, but I wanted to so bad.
So after that concert, did you start going to more concerts, or were you not feeling comfortable because of the restrictions you felt from external forces in your immediate life?
Yeah, I didn't go to any professional live concerts for about 20 years from there. And so the last few years I've been playing catch up.
Good. Let's talk about the catch up then. I've seen you sing online. There are a couple of videos
Hmm.
out there singing secular music. Do you also sing gospel music?
I have an interesting relationship with gospel music and kind of spiritual music right now that I'm still trying to navigate, just to be honest. Something I'm still unpacking, but yeah, I sing a lot of other stuff.
Yeah, you sure do. And you do it nicely. When you started going to concerts 10 years ago, what was the first concert you went to? So essentially, your second concert you've ever been to,
I went to
musician.
see a band. It was a small band playing in a bar, and they were recruiting me to potentially sing in their band. And I went to see them. It was For the Beat, and I don't even know if they exist anymore. You probably have never heard of them before. Really small Chicago band, and they wanted me to come out, and I'm there, and it felt weird, to be honest with you, because
I
this is
believe you.
not full circle with 180 degrees. But it was a good time. It was a good time, and they sang a bunch of they're mini bands these days, or cover bands, smaller, or they at least have to sing a bunch of covers in order to get people to listen to what they've actually created.
So, did you take the gig with those guys?
Yeah,
Did you end up singing with them? So, tell me some of the songs that you sang when you played with them.
bands are always looking for the most economical player because they're not getting paid much. And so I sang and I played drums at the same time. And so that's like a 2-for-1 deal.
That's a skill. I don't know that I could do that. I sing and play guitar at the same time, but drumming, I can't even do that well.
Yeah, so I would sing like Sugar Pie Honey Bunch or just a lot of the R&B stuff,
Yeah.
some Marvin Gaye, a lot of Stevie Wonder, some Al Green, and a bunch of other stuff. Yeah.
Did you see another national act play at that point? Did you start going and consuming more live music?
Yeah, so I went to Buddy Guys, and I was actually there a few weeks ago, and my girlfriend and I, we went to this one kind of restaurant speakeasy or whatever. It was a really cool vibe. It's called Untitled. It's a underground, and it's this beautiful place. But the band there was, you win some, you lose some.
Yeah, in a bar, you're gonna get what you get, and you can't get a.
The embarrassing part is I had seen some of their stuff, and I was like, decent, and the venue will make up for whatever else. And we went, and it was bad. Not
Yeah, yeah,
the band, but like the sound it sounded like
yeah, yeah.
crows being smashed. So we went to House of Blues, and I think it was just an off night for every band and every venue. And she was like, you know what? Why don't we just go to Buddy Guy? So we did, and they had this band that was playing. It wasn't the house band, but it was a lot of really good players that had gathered together. And so as they're playing and singing, they said, we have a special guest for you all tonight, Mr. Buddy Guy. And Buddy Guy actually gets up and goes on the platform, and he's 89, 90 years old at this point.
He's one of the oldest living
Legend.
bluesmen
And
in the music world.
I didn't know what to expect. Honestly, Alex, I was like, okay, he's an older gentleman. Let's be patient with him. They'll roll him out and he'll do something, and then we'll all clap. And he starts singing. He's leaning on a cane or whatever, but he starts singing. And when he opens his voice, it's like the whole room just got quiet, and he boom, and he hits it. It's, oh my You're just sitting there just in rapture because, I mean, his voice is amazing. And
He's amazing.
yes,
He's amazing.
yes,
He influenced all of the British blues rockers, the Eric Claptons and Jeff Becks. He was one of their biggest influences, and he's still alive. It is truly a gift that you got to see him live.
yeah.
He's so great. He didn't play guitar though.
No, his guitarist was actually there. So his guitarist was one of the
I
people in
got
the band, and obviously he knows what Buddy Guy's wants at the
right.
time. And what's wild is after Buddy Guy gets on and when he sings, and we're just like, oh my, like we just saw history. And then he gets off of the stage, and the guy that had been like the guest singer or whatever, he was phenomenal. No holds barred. He was
Disrespect.
amazing.
Yeah.
But he said,
Yeah.
you know what? I want to have some fun tonight. And so he looked over at the band. He's like, "Can we do it? Can we do it?" And the band, yeah, okay, fine. He starts singing Roxanne,
Wow.
and he just goes into it, tears it up, and we're all singing and clapping, and it was just it was a moment. And afterward, my girlfriend's like, "Aren't you glad we left?" But of course.
Yeah. It worked out for the best. What's the biggest concert you've ever been to?
The biggest concert is at United Center. I
Okay.
saw Travis Scott.
How was that? Was that just on the last year?
Yep,
Earlier?
yeah.
Yeah.
Last year, he played at the United Center, and it was a moment because I got to take my daughter with me, and she hadn't
How
been.
old is she?
She is 17, so this was for her birthday, and she hadn't been to any major concert, and it was magical. It was really magical.
Good. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. I have 2
Mhm,
daughters, so sharing the music I love with them, even if they don't love the same
mhm,
music, going with them to see live shows. I've taken them to see everyone from Paul McCartney to the Foo Fighters to
mhm.
Springsteen to all the classic
Yeah,
rockers that I grew up with. I'm making sure that my older daughter, who's at least interested enough to go with me, even if she doesn't love,
uh-huh,
before they disappear, I wanted her to see all the acts that were my touchstone.
mhm.
And then she goes off and does her own things and sees completely different types of music. But it started with me taking her to a show. Does she have musical talent?
She does. She's a phenomenal singer. We were actually yesterday, they pulled out the Bluetooth and hooked it up to the speakers, and they were doing karaoke. And so everybody had in the room had to do some karaoke, and she gets up and she starts singing, and we were all having fun. And then she starts, and it's, well, I can hear and watch this for a few hours. Like, she's
Right.
really good.
Good. Good. What I love about live music, among many things, is that it opens up possibilities for what people might want to try. For me, it certainly did. I saw all these rock and roll acts in the early 80s, and I started teaching myself how to play
Hmm.
guitar. And then went to college and I started playing music with other people. And then I got out of college and I got into my first band. And I spent just enough time to be good enough to play out,
Yeah.
and then learned how to play out by playing
Mhm.
out, and could still be way, way better. But you can have that too if you just practice your craft and do it. So that's what I love about live music, is it opened up the possibilities.
Uh,
Do you go out and sing karaoke?
I don't. People feel some kind of way about that. I've talked to some people, and they feel like it's like a pool shark showing up at the table, and they should at least have a handicap or something. I have fun with it. I've done it a few times. I've sang some karaoke.
Are you going to think about doing any singing in the future? Not karaoke singing, but singing out?
Yeah, definitely. The cool thing is, as big as the music scene is, it's also pretty small. And so I was at the airport heading out to, I don't remember where I was going, but I saw this guy with this beautiful trumpet band, and I started asking him questions about it or whatever. And he invited me and my girlfriend to the show that he was doing in downtown Chicago. And so I was thinking, okay, sure, why not? We'll go. And so we did. We planned and showed up. We were late. Unfortunately, it was terrible. But we showed up, and as we're sitting there, He says, I'm gonna have my friend Carl. The weird thing is, I'm looking over at his band, and his guitar player, I had played with him like 4 weeks prior in my own band, and I'd had this gig in June, and so he's like, "Hey, what here?" Because we're all the way out in the west suburb, like an hour and 15 minutes from the city, and he's there, and it was crazy, but it was really cool because then we already had some chemistry, and yeah,
Right.
I got up and sang "What's Going On," Marvin Gaye,
Yeah.
and we just had a really good vibe, and I intend to do that some more, and it's fun. It's
Yeah.
liberating, it's fun, it's creative, it's challenging, it's mentally stimulating, all that stuff.
What's the name of your band?
Carl and the Kingdom.
Oh, I like it. Carl King. Carl in the Kingdom. I get it. Now, do you play out at bars?
Yeah, bars, weddings, pretty much just small cover band stuff.
See, I've never needed to or felt the need to apologize for that because I have friends who are in original bands, and me playing in a cover band or starting to get a new cover band together, to them, I don't think it makes any difference. They're doing something different, which is cool and definitely admirable. But me playing in a cover band, you playing in I have no judgment. Anyone who plays music for the entertainment of other people should be applauded and without judgment. So
I agree
good for you.
in my heart, in my spirit. I'm still trying to connect that with my training for years.
Yeah.
I'm trying to reprogram all this stuff.
Do you have tickets to any concerts right now in your future?
In my future, no, I just missed went up to Summerfest, and it was aggressively raining. Yes, Milwaukee, and there was
Yeah.
tornadoes. And 50,000 people in Alpine Valley, they evacuated.
Oh,
And so our kind of calculus was they're about to evacuate Summerfest if they're evacuating Alpine Valley. So let's not go. But we were going to go see the Black Puma. And
oh yeah. I have a friend who saw that show.
how was it?
She said it was great. This is Tracy, my friend, who said that they let the rains pass and still had the show, and it was great.
That's awesome. Yeah,
They are awesome. That's a great
it
band.
is. I saw them at the Salt Shed a few months ago, I think it was.
Wow, that's a small venue for them, isn't it? Now,
They're huge now. Yeah.
yeah. How did they play the Salt?
It was packed. It was standing room
I
only.
bet. I bet, and it was
It
good.
was, yeah, it was phenomenal. And at the end, I guess, hmm, I don't know. I think I grew up watching bands play their hits during the show, but it seems like
Right.
the trend now is they wait until the encore. And I don't know if that's a normal, like a typical band thing, but I've been to like two semi big concerts, and they've
Yeah.
done this where they wait until the encore and then they come out and they play. For instance, for them, it was Colors. And so they waited, the encore happens, and then they come back out and they play Colors. And then they did the Tracy Chapman song, Fast Car,
Yeah.
at the end,
Fast
at the
car, right.
second encore. But I saw a British act called Ray,
Yeah.
performer. She's a singer, and
Sure.
she actually did, she just called it out in front of everybody. She said, so what I'm going to do is we're going to end the show, and then I'm going to walk out, and then you're going to stand up and clap, and then I'm going to come out and I'm going to sing. And she mentioned the big song that she was known for. And are y'all ready? Okay. She hangs up the mic, goes like, I appreciate that. That's candor.
It's interesting because for a band who only has one hit,
Mhm.
they need to keep people in the seats for as long as they can. So it makes sense that they build up that sense of tension
Yeah.
as bands get more hits. And depending on their
Mhm.
attitude, they sometimes get bolder, and it's fun to see a band come out and play their biggest hit first.
Yeah.
Boom. And then their second biggest hit last,
Uh-huh.
or their biggest hit fourth,
Yeah.
and their second biggest hit last, and their third biggest hit in the encore.
What do you think about that
But
crowd psychology?
it's tough. Everyone's different. I just saw the Rolling Stones, and I've seen them over a 44-year period. I saw them in 1981, in 89, a couple times in the 90s, and then a couple times in the 2000s, and then just last month, a month ago. And they start with Start Me Up, which isn't their biggest
Right.
hit, but certainly is one of their biggest songs for sure. But with the Rolling Stones, every song was a hit.
Sure.
There wasn't a weak song in the bunch. But every band is different. And there are bands that play different sets every night. There are bands that play the same set list every
Mhm.
night. With those mid-tier bands, like I would call the Black Pumas not just a one-hit wonder band anymore. They've got a couple records out. They have a bunch of really solid songs. Do they still need to play Colors last every night? I would argue that Colors should be the last song of the regular set, and then do cover songs in the encore or their
One of the new
other
songs.
best. But yeah, it's tough. Every band has a different attitude about it. And some bands dare you to leave.
Mhm.
We're going to play our best 3 songs first, and then we're going to play what we want to play, and dare you to stay.
Yeah.
So I applaud it all. Part of what I'm going to see is what the band's attitude is. If the band is going to be cocky, if the band is going to play safe, all those things go into the calculus for me when I walk out and say, gosh, I really like that, or boy, that was predictable or dull or whatever it is. I'm open to it all. I just want to see, because the choice itself is part of the message, and the way I look at a concert, right, is part of the entertainment. Is, oh, I see what they're doing here. They're going to play all the big songs up front and then tease us with other stuff that we don't know. And now it's challenging you to stay and listen and find what they find interesting about those other songs. On the other hand, if they play the dull songs in the middle, then you got to figure out, do I go to the bathroom? Do I go buy a t-shirt?
Am I going to miss something?
And for me, the other thing is the difference between going to see an established band, the Bruce Springsteens and the Rolling Stones and newer bands in clubs, where the whole thing is a new experience. I don't know what they're like live. I may have seen 1 or 2 songs on the internet, but I want to go experience it for myself. So for me, I'm open to it all. So I applaud the Black Pumas for playing Colors last, because it keeps people in the seats and gives you a chance to win them over with all the other songs that they're hoping you'll get excited about. That's good. So Black Pumas you just missed, and Summerfest. Doesn't Summerfest go another weekend?
It's
Or
a
is that
few
it?
more weekends. Yeah. I think I'm
Yeah.
actually probably bringing my kids up there to see some stuff.
Summerfest is great because there's such a wide variety of music. You can really get a bunch of different things in a weekend.
Yeah.
Good. What is the best music performance you've ever seen?
I had a different answer, but I think I'm going to go with Travis Scott because I wasn't a fan. I
Okay.
didn't know his catalog. He's not my generation. I'm ancient and he's for the kids. It was something my daughter wanted to do and I'm up for it. So I honestly didn't listen to. So generally I'll do my prep work. I'll listen to, go through their catalog, know what to anticipate. Didn't have any of that context. And so as we're driving out there, she tells me, because I was about to turn on some music of his, and she's like, Dad, please don't do that. I've been listening to him all day. I'm sick of his voice. Okay, I get it. So she had done her homework, but we get there and I think just the variety of music, she was anticipating some really other big name acts to come through as guests during the performance. That didn't happen, but he did something that it's starting to be done now for sure, but he played the same song like 7 times. You would think that would be terrible, but okay, so he didn't play the whole song, but there was murmuring on the internet. He's going to play this song, it's called Fiend. And they're like, he's going to play it at least 5 times. If he plays it 13 times, it'll be more than he played it at the other concert. But he just plays 10 seconds or 5 seconds, like a snippet to get you excited or whatever. So he did that. And she was just over the moon, just ecstatic because that happened. And everybody's got their phones out and they're doing whatever. But and then rather than taking it in the direction I thought he would and having everybody leave hype, because he does some rager songs, some rock, and so he blends some pretty hard like metal into his music. So the variety was great, but then he, for the last song, takes it all the way down into this really intimate, quiet, meditative song. And it's a contemplation on life, on longevity, on the things that we're doing down here. So there's some real introspection that he's doing on this song. And he walks through the bowels of United Center, and there's a camera following him, and he's walking, and this song is echoing, and he sings it on occasion. And it was this really pensive moment, very heavy, but also hopeful.
I'm impressed to hear that. Now, was that his last song? Did he just kind of
That
walk
was the
off? That
last
was how he
song.
left? So the exact opposite of the Black Fume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His last song was
Good.
one where we were just like, wow.
He zapped you. He surprised you
Yes.
with something you really
Yes.
expected. That is the for me. That is the best. That is the absolute gold experience when you go see live music. Now, do you have a wish list of any acts that are out there today that you most want to see that you've never seen before?
I want to see Stevie Wonder, if he's even doing any more performance,
Get it while you can.
right? I want to see him perform, and I would love to see, goodness, I'd love to see a lot of acts.
You got making up to do.
I do. I have a whole lot. I think that would be number one for me. That would be top.
There's no better. He's one of the greatest living musicians
Mhm.
in any genre ever.
Mhm.
He's amazing. He's truly a gift
Mhm.
to all of us. That sounds pretty good. That leads into your new career. So clearly you made a change, and part of that change was helping others facilitate. How did that come to you as this is what I want to do now? I'm making a big change in my life, and my next phase is going to be helping others make big changes in their life. How did that happen?
Honestly, I think it's been a whole succession of things. And I think for me, change is not a one-time event, and it's not a dramatic thing. It is more of an evolution that happens in our mind and then over time with small actions. And so I think one of the actions I took probably 10 years ago was to begin to shift out of having my identity tied to being a preacher, which was a major identity shift when that's what I was from all of my formative years. Was this is who I am. And so to go through that change intentionally, it was very significant, I'll say. And it obviously it wasn't easy. Obviously there's a lot of tears and confusion and uncertainty and all of that. But going through that, I had people in my life that watched me go through that. And I remember one mentor specifically remarked to me one day about watching me go through that. And she said, "You did all of this and you kept everything intact." And she said, I really respect the way that you maintained your integrity through it all, because there was some really bad stuff that happened. Some people that did some stuff illegally, trying to set me up, trying to create a whole narrative. And it ended up their house of cards crumbled. But that, that, that experience of change has been something that I've had to go through over and over again. And I've tried to navigate it safely and to keep the people that I care about with me and together. And so I want that for other people. And obviously, as a preacher, as a pastor, I've helped families stay together. I've helped people navigate job loss. I've helped a lot of different things, not as an official counselor, but counseling people through their life change. And so it wasn't a natural progression, but it was the right progression for me.
You used the word at the beginning that, after listening to what you just said, really speaks to that. It was evolution.
Mhm.
It didn't happen all at once. You evolved,
Mhm.
and then you took steps in a direction, it sounds like, and then you finally were ready to make the change you had been, it sounds like, building up towards for a while.
Mhm.
And I understand that very intimately. All right.
Yeah.
Last thing, you have a website,
Mhm.
carlkingcoaching.com. When I go there, what can I do?
You can hear about the work that we've done, and we have a 30-day challenge that we've been running that it allows people to shed a bunch of extra stuff as they're preparing for change and thinking about change. It allows them to take some very small. Like I said, it for me, it's evolution. It's not something drastic, and if it's drastic, then that's going to create some problems. So take
Right.
some minor steps as they're considering change, and this allows them to find their footing and move forward.
And that's a way that they can begin to engage with you.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. carlkingcoaching.com. Why don't we leave it on that note? Is there anything I didn't ask you, any experience with live music that I didn't ask you about that I should have?
No, have you written any music, like song
I have,
written?
but I have written a bunch of songs, but they are all very mediocre. I love doing it anyway. I have 2 or 3 notebooks filled with lyric, but I do like to write music. I don't do it enough.
Mhm.
I'm working on getting my playing back up to speed so I can start a new cover band.
Mm.
So I'm focusing more right now on playing, and I'm hoping to have a cover band together by the end of the year. That I'm saying it now, so I have 6 months to make it
Yeah.
happen. Carl King, I couldn't be more appreciative that you joined me today. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate you being on the
Thank you
podcast.
for having me, Alex. This has been a very good time.
Excellent. And that's it for today's conversation. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back next Tuesday. And if you like what you heard today, we'd appreciate it if you'd like and subscribe or follow to make sure you get notified about each new episode. And please tell your friend. Additionally, product note, we're releasing a playlist for every episode. So Carl's going to help me put together the Rock and Roll Show podcast playlist with all the bands that he talked about today. That'll be on Spotify every week along with the episode. And please check that out. Finally, we want to know what you think. Please leave us a comment. We'll try to respond to every one of them. The Rock and Roll Show podcast is a World Highway Media production. I'm your host, Alex Gadd. And until next time, remember that life is short, so get those concert tickets.